my senior exit on the current state of racism against black men and sexism against women in America today. Because I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about where we're at, and I just wanted to maybe dispel them or maybe get enlightened by someone who knows more than me. So my stance is that there are no barriers to success that face women or black men, and I just wanted to know if you guys disagreed and why. What forms of oppression do you think that they face? What forms of racism do you think are widespread? And yeah. Anybody can answer.
I know this is gonna get heated, so can I
I
start
just know
looking
that
up
like
facts?
men
Hold on, guys.
One at a time.
First of all, wait, I want to know if like you know anything about the pay gap
Yeah.
between men, like men and women.
Yeah,
If it's,
so you think, so the idea is that men and women don't get paid the same for the
Yes.
same job due to employers being sexist, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's not true. And here's why. Because that 70 cents on the dollar, or that 80 cents on the dollar, that comes from just taking the median earnings of all women in the workforce and dividing it by the median earnings of all men in the workforce. And you'll get 0.77. And that doesn't take any external factors into account when you're calculating the 0.77. So, women in the workplace, all these. So if we go to them, you can see that men tend to work way more hours per day, per weekend, and per holiday. They take off work way less often than women do. Obviously, women have maternity leave, and men have paternity leave, but women's paternity leave lasts longer. Usually, women would take a few months off. Men, it could go up to a couple weeks. Men are way more willing to work overtime. They are willing to work unscheduled hours more than women are, and men also take more risky and dangerous jobs, which pay a lot more than women. So when you factor all of that, the pay gap, it does seem to decrease substantially.
Good argument.
Almost eliminates the entire.
Now, I will say, when he's talking about that 75 cents on the dollar, he is correct about how they calculated that.
Well, like,
Yes.
women aren't believed that they are being sexually assaulted in the workplace, and I think that's like also a gap that's happening. What do you think?
Okay, so in terms of the rate of rape in the United States, a lot of people will say it's like 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 women will be raped during their lifetime, when it's really 1 in 50. I've looked at the study that they got the 1 in 4, and it's a very vague study, and they had a very low response rate, which means that people who are more likely to answer will answer, and there was so many people, like the majority of people that they asked did not even respond. So that 1 in 4, 1 in 5 statistic is really bad to use, and they even said it that it's not representative of, that you can't extrapolate it to the entire population. So, and in terms of comparing the rate in general society to actually college, you are actually safer from rape in college than in just regular society. So, go ahead.
Do you think you're safer from it, or do you just like you're encouraged more not to report it? Because when you get higher up in the workplace, like women lose their job if they report it. Like if it's their boss especially, they'll be scared not to report it, so they won't tell anybody. Like, do you think that maybe the studies don't accurately represent what's happening because women are scared and they're threatened?
It's completely possible, but the lowest reportage rate that I've seen is about 40%. So even if you take that into account, it's nowhere near 1 in 5. So, and I don't see a society in America that discourages women from reporting rape. I see a society where if you were to go up to any man and show him a rapist, the one thing he's going to want to do is beat him within an inch of his life. So I don't see a society that encourages or tolerates rape, which is a rape culture. I don't see a rape culture in the United States, and I don't see any data to back it up.
It's not just rape, it's sexual assault as well, so that's like unwanted advances on a woman, even if you shut it down and say like you don't, because like they make it funny on TV shows, like the guy's like always flirting with a girl and she's uncomfortable, like that's like, and women like aren't really allowed to, or they're not allowed to, but they're encouraged not to report that because
By whom? I don't
heads
understand.
of companies, like,
It's just like normal.
you're in normal life, like
So
if a guy's
it's-
making you uncomfortable, you're just supposed to ignore it and walk away. Like it's like that gap that just because it's a guy, like you're not supposed to report
Again,
it.
I'm gonna need to see a reputable study that says that, because I don't see, because if your boss were to tell you not to report sexual assault, and also another problem with sexual assault is that sometimes there isn't a very defined definition to it. So a lot of times you need to define it in order to solve a problem. So if you leave it vague, it's not a problem that's easy to solve.
Well, I think what she's trying to say, like, no, like, actual, like, study, but, like, being women, we're encouraged just to ignore it. And, like, that's what she's trying to say.
Well, okay, so then again, if your boss encourages you not to report it and it's something serious, you don't have to report it to your employee. You can report it to the police because they will take care of it. And if a policeman ignores you, I mean, the police will not ignore your claim. You just have to back it up. So, I'm sorry, you asked 3 questions. I need to ask something.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If you choose not to report it, maybe it's because there are greater repercussions from like if you're sexually assaulted and you go to the police, you run the risk of like losing your job and like your income. So
How?
because if your employer, like if you are being sexually assaulted by your employer, he's gonna like and you report him to the police, like, do you understand like how that?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but again, if that were to happen, your employer is still committing a crime, which you can report to the police. It's all up to the woman if she wants to report it or not. So, and I don't see any widespread discouragement of reporting
It's the same thing
rape or
with
sexual
fraud or
assault.
any other crime.
Yeah. I'll get to you next, I promise.
There's proof of fraud.
I think back to the whole
True.
discouragement of like coming out with it or reporting it. I think a lot of women are afraid that if they do report it, that a lot of people are going to question them and not believe them. A lot of the whole situations with a lot of the celebrities that came out with that scandal, like a lot of people are like, oh, did that actually happen? They're just trying to get attention because a lot of other people are coming out with this, and I think it can be embarrassing, and not a lot of people want to share that information. So I think a lot of people just kind of bury it down and don't come out about that. Because like I know, like family members who've had situations like that happen who have not reported it or anything. So I think that your information could be. You said there could be a chance of it not being accurate, but I really do think that is inaccurate because there are like hundreds of women, like thousands, that do not report sexual assault and rape because they're afraid of reporting it, of what people might say or think. So.
Sure, it's a possibility, but again, you're gonna need to show me something. I can't go off of feeling. I need to go.
It's not
I need
feeling,
I need something tangible.
Personal
You know?
experience.
Yeah, I get it, but if you're not willing to come out with it, I don't know what you want me to do for you. That's what I'm saying. You.
Okay, so I actually, all the ladies that just talked, I really want to know your statistics because as someone who has dealt with this personally, it was handled in a very good manner. So I think I actually support you in this, and I am a female, so don't. It's not even that. It's just thanks. I think that sometimes we only hear about the negative. We only hear about what doesn't get done. But we don't really hear about what does get done. I feel like just from what I've seen. So I don't know. I do want to see the statistics of what doesn't get reported versus what does.
Well, I thought we were just having a conversation. I didn't know that we were supposed to bring it.
No, you weren't supposed to. I just wanted to see.
I think
You're next, Jess, I promise.
I mean, you've been talking about a lot about statistics, which are like obviously important. Like I'm not saying they're not, but we are the statistics. Like everybody that's talking, like we are like women, and we're the people that you're getting the statistics from. So I don't think you can just brush us off because we don't have any like hard numbers.
I'm not.
But they
brushing
are
you off.
telling you why women don't report. They're giving you from a woman's perspective.
Right.
And you're saying, show me statistics. And they,
Because I need something to go off of. I mean,
well,
I mean,
they
the
are
problem is-
telling you.
Yes, then I just need you to be willing to do something, because what I'm arguing is that there are no laws, there are no institutions that are doing that.
One of the questions Angel was asking is, I'm not quite sure that you could ever find that out. If women are not reporting, there's a reason. And we've just seen a lot of things that's happened in the news lately, and people coming out now for something that happened years ago, and they're not being believed. Or it doesn't seem to matter as much because it's not affecting people. So right there also gives you kind of a reason women don't report. But then, how are you ever going to determine or get the statistics on the women you don't report?
A lot of times you can't, because if they're not willing to report, they're not willing to talk about it. So I think that, I mean, that's another problem. I mean, women have to be willing, and I get there's reasons why they don't, but I think there has to be some level of accountability that women need to be held up to in terms of willing to talk about problems that are going on.